Hi, welcome to my hypothesis presentation. I'm Matt Kantner. My topic is genetically modified organisms and how they can benefit us. So my hypothesis is there's been much controversy on the human health and what to eat, including the subject of genetically modified organisms, also known as GMOs. I believe that the practice of genetically modifying organisms is not a threat to human health, but in actuality is beneficial. So this topic is a very controversial topic. Scientists who specialize in this area, especially genetics, some are for it, some are against it. It's pretty much half and half because the ones that do not support it do not see this as a way of life and it's not natural occurring. We're kind of affecting the way these organisms are and modifying them through genes, which is a growing field now that it was discovered back in the early mid-1900s. So it's constantly growing. We're doing so much with this topic. And then those who support this topic and the practices occurring now are seeing the benefits in it. And I think that the benefits that GMOs provides outweighs much more than the cons, if they are even any, which I'll talk about later. So one of the benefits that GMOs have on human health is crops become resistant to insects. So insects constantly eating our crops all the time, such as corn and potatoes, tomatoes, everything you can think of, barley. So if we see a plant that's resistant to these bugs, we can take a gene from them that makes them resistant to the bugs and put it in, say, a potato that's being eaten. And we can therefore increase our yield and increase the productivity and therefore provide enough vegetables and product to the society and the public, which is beneficial because we can overcome this challenge of insects and therefore grow the crops that we need to grow. Another benefit is protecting the environment. While it may not be protecting the environment, maybe decreasing the effects on the environment by genetically modifying organisms to overcome these insects and these bugs, we can use less pesticides and less chemicals on these crops. And that's overall better for the ecosystem of what it consists of the bugs and the bacteria and the plants and everything that is there that is exposed to these chemicals. So that I feel like is more harmful to the environment than genetically modifying these organisms, which I'll talk about the negative effects soon. But it's a safer alternative to what we're currently doing, and we're not using as much pesticides and chemicals or as much or not at all. So that's definitely a benefit to using GMOs. The third one is enhance the quality of our food. So with genetically modifying organisms, we see a gene that we really like, say the vitamin A gene that codes for the amount that a crop is going to have, like a tomato. It has more vitamins. We can enhance the gene or add duplicates to have the gene more expressed and therefore increase the nutrition of the vegetables and the size. And we're doing that now, and a lot of people don't know that. Most of the food in our grocery stores are GMOs. So this is a huge benefit to what we're currently doing. There was, in the video that is later in the PowerPoint, which I may not get around to, there is an instance where there's African families who are malnourished and do not receive enough vitamin A. And because of this, a lot of them go blind because they don't have enough to provide for their eyes, enough nutrition. So scientists developed the golden rice, which is rice easily transportable and a common rice, but it's enriched with vitamin A. So we're overcoming these problems by genetically modifying our food. And genetically modifying food is just a natural way to make our plants better. We're inserting a natural gene from one organism to the next. We're not making anything. It's not synthesized. The organism, you could say, is man-made, but the actual gene itself is not. So some dangers of GMOs include the vertical gene transfer. So with this, vertical gene transfer refers to genes being passed down from one generation to the next. So if there's a desirable trait that is seen in a population, say the bug wants to eat the GMO plant and can, because of the gene it has, as it reproduces, it's going to produce more offspring that is going to have this gene. And therefore, this can be a problem, people think, but it's really not a problem because this is evolution and it's constantly occurring and it's a natural thing. It's inevitable for evolution to happen. And then the second reason is antibiotic effectiveness is decreased. So as humans, we take plenty of antibiotics, and we're putting in, say, resistant genes in these plants that we're eating can maybe affect the way that our antibiotics work and maybe not work at all. But I mean, with the way that we develop these things, we're constantly making changes to these medicines. And like I said, evolution's inevitable. It's constantly occurring. It's occurring every birth there is, every offspring there is. We go through evolution because we constantly endure mutations as we're being born or as we're being produced, and then as the months go on, we're born. There's bacteria that go through mutations. That's how they become resistant to these antibiotics. So, I mean, evolution's inevitable. These first two problems really aren't dangers of GMOs. It's just kind of, I guess, a side effect. If it ever becomes too bad, which I don't think it will, then we'll handle it accordingly because we do this plenty. We have flu vaccination that is remade every year because the influenza virus is constantly changing with the antigens it has in its cell, in the cell, and different proteins it has, and we're constantly making adjustments to prevent this from the person from being diagnosed with this or coming across the flu virus. And then allergic reactions. With the dangers of GMO, people can be allergic to some of these new products. Well, if you're allergic, just like with everything else, you can't eat it, or you can only eat it in small doses, or you got to have the proper allergy medication. It's not really a big deal. It's not really a danger, as some people make it out to be, but it's just something that we have to adapt to. That's not a real problem that we would face. So then finally, there's a video that you guys can click on if you want more information. My video is getting a little too long, so you guys can check it out. It has some of the examples and some of the things I talked about earlier that you can look at. It's very informative. And if you have any questions, you can message me or email me. Here's my references. I hope you guys learned a lot, and looking forward to sharing what more I find on this topic. Having a biological perspective, this way I've been studying for 4 years, and break down what all this information means and the potentials it has, and my own opinions, I think can be pretty cool, considering that this is kind of a untalked topic. So, I mean, hope you guys learned a lot, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.